Just a little update here. They've followed up the recent State of the Game post with a few additional comments, and by they I mean Loki, on the Terraria Discord, so I thought I'd cover them. It begins with a familiar face. Pinhead Pat wrote, "When do you reckon 0.5 will come out?" Loki's answer, 0.5 testing going well. That's at least a good sign. Pinhead Pat was back with another question. Loki, in this picture there are apples on trees and an oven that's baking a pie and a picnic table. Is this going to be added into Journey's End? Is this photo edited to have those items? And, credit to Pinhead Pat with their eagle eyes. I hadn't noticed that, honestly, when I posted that image in my last video, but looking at it now, I'm a little surprised I didn't scrutinize it. It's certainly interesting to see these new items in the game. It looks to me like something that will be added in Journey's End, but who the hell knows? It does seem like a lot of cosmetic and aesthetic improvements are being made with Journey's End, so this is certainly not inconsistent with their from the top to the bottom approach to the game in the Journey's End patch. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, to that, Loki wrote, "Who knows? You know I'm not going to answer that. We have a long tradition of mixing in real spoilers and some that are not real, like the infamous, oh my god, new grass, when we just painted it." So they're sneaky snakes about this sort of thing, which is, you have to give them credit for messing around with this a little bit. I think these are probably real items, but again, who really knows at this point? Ors1331 wrote, "Also, will the game be updated now, or like never, like last time? I waited 3 years for an update." Loki wrote, "I would say 5 hotfixes in a month would give you your answer." And it doesn't really need to be said, but obviously the progress with updates is much more rapid now that 1.3 has been launched. We should get a quick succession, relatively speaking, of fixes and patches and new content to mobile. Ors1331 was not put off by that rather curt response and was back with, "Can you please add mod support, Loki?" Loki answered, "Not that simple. 1, it's not like you can just make mods work. We don't make the mods, for 1. And for 2, most PC-based mods are on version 1.3.5. And secondly, first parties generally frown on such things. You can't just do that like you can on PC. Not that simple. And anyone who is used to Bethesda games like the Fallout series and the Elder Scrolls series knows that mods really for the longest time were PC only, and it was a pretty monumental event when mods got to consoles. It's just not easily done, and so who knows whether it's actually going to happen. But more on that, because Ors1331 wrote, "Okay, I get it, you can't get mods." And to that, Loki wrote, "I didn't say that either. I said it's not as simple as just make mods work." So he didn't rule it out altogether, which is pretty cool. I'd like to see some mods on the mobile version of Terraria at some point. I mean, right now we're obviously getting used to all the massive changes and the new patches that keep coming out for mobile. But when things finally do slow down and let's say Journey's End does arrive for mobile Terraria, it would be nice to at least have a few mods. I know a lot of people like the Calamity mod, but whatever your preference might be for mods, to be able to get it on a tablet or a phone would be pretty cool. Anyway, speaking about upcoming changes, Loki wrote, "I do not have a full change log, but most of the outstanding issues are on low-spec devices, and so that is the focus. Not necessarily just on frames per second, but more so stability. Frames per second will be subject to ongoing optimizations over time, so that will be like an ever-moving thing. But at some point we have to say, this is stable, and get to work on the customization and controller support, because the value of that would be greater than another 3 hotfixes to everyone." And he's right. I mean, certainly they're going to address all of the game-breaking bugs and major issues before they press on with customization and controller support, but it reaches a point where enough is enough with these hotfixes and they just want to move on and get to the next thing. So that's certainly understandable. Moving along, Stain wrote, "Loki, what's the release date for the Kindle Fire Amazon version of Terraria 1.3? And that's a question that's probably on quite a few people's minds. To that, Loki wrote, hopefully Amazon can submit alongside the 0.5 hotfix. That is the hope and plan. And they did mention this in, I believe, the state of the game that they released earlier in the week. But if you weren't advised of that, certainly that's the plan. This last hotfix should be concurrent with the Amazon mobile device release. We'll just have to wait and see. Stain was back and wrote, I hope you guys fixed the combat targeting. Loki, every time I tried to lock on to any fast-moving boss like Duke Fishron or Lunatic Cultist, it deattaches. And he wrote something else that's not really relevant, but Loki, to that first part of his statement, wrote, that is not a bug, it is by design. Same way on PC. The lock is supposed to drop when the Lunatic Cultist teleports, etc. Sorry, just gonna have to not rely on it so heavily for those encounters. So, I think he later referred to it as a bit of a crutch, which, I guess is kind of debatable given the limits of mobile touchscreen controls, but however you want to view it, that seems to be the lay of the land. It's not going to work for you on teleportation enemies like the Lunatic Cultist or fast-moving enemies like Duke Fishron. That's just how it's going to work. So I guess you're just going to have to really prepare, get the best gear you can, and work on your tactics a bit with potions and whatnot. Anyway, that's it for now. It was just kind of a mini update. I did recently release the State of the Game video that summarized the month's big news event, and if you're curious about that, it should be linked to at the end of this video. Anyway, again, that's it for now. I will keep my ear to the ground on any further updates. I'm kind of curious when 0.5 will be done, but we're just gonna have to wait and see, and they seem to be playing it a little closer to the vest this time. Maybe that's because it's the final hotfix, who knows. Anyway, thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you next time.